Hi everyone, welcome to Mrs. Shin's class. Today we're going to go over the part 2 of the building activity. Okay, so have you read the question? Okay, have a read. Then would have figured out that the maximum point is 26. Yeah, 26. What about the low high value? This one is 9. Okay, so tell me, which graph is starting from 0? Yeah, so if I'm comparing these two, I can say the smaller one is starting from 0. So, what did I say? What tip did I give you? I'm gonna let this, the trig function, okay? In that case, I would not have any horizontal translation for it. If I let the big one, trig function, yes, I can, but there will be some horizontal translation, and it's going to be a little bit harder to solve it, okay? So I'm going to let this trig function, you tell me later whether it's sine or cosine. Right, in that case, what's going to be the top one, the bigger one? Yeah, it has to be parabola. Good. Now, look. I let this value w, because the width w, so I let it w, so this is width, okay? And from the question it said the big one, okay, the width of the big graph is double the smaller one, okay? So that means if I let this w, the big one has to be, 2w. Alright, then think about it. This is a trig function, and it's starting with a half a circle. So it's a sine curve, right? Going on and on like this. So therefore, if that's w, what will be half of it? This value. So half of w, I'm going to let it w over 2, or 0.5 w, okay? Right, then, since that's 0.5 w, 0.5 w, and if I cut it in half, since that's those two are 2w, the width is 2w, should be w, right? So basically, 0.5 w, 0.5 w, 0.5 w, 0.5 w, add all that up, it's going to be, the width will be 2w. Make sense? Okay, then I can find it out. Since it's a half w from 0, that will be negative half of w, yeah? So going up by 0.5, 0.5, 0.5, that will be 1.5 or 3 over 2 w. This is how you're going to find out all these values in terms of w. Okay? So, number 1, I'm going to draw the smaller one, which is trig function. I'm going to sketch it first. There you go. As you can see, my highest point is at 0.5 w, 9, and it's at w, right? So I only seen the half of it in the question, but you need to extend it and draw the one full cycle, which is going to be 2w. Yep. Please make sure you indicate all the points for this, and this. So, for example, this point is a 3 over 2w, comma, negative 9. Okay, so this is sine, because I'm starting with a half a circle, semicircle. So this is the equation of the semicircle. Obviously, since I'm starting the first graph with trig, there should be no horizontal translation, so C will be 0. Okay, so I'm going to start by writing ABCD on the side with a generalized equation. So C will be 0. Okay, where is my midline? It didn't change, right? It's still at 0. Yep. So amplitude from the midline, amplitude from the midline is equal. So therefore, my D vertical translation should be also 0. Okay, right, then tell me what the amplitude is. As I said, the distance, yeah, 9 and 9, so that's 9. How do you find out the b? It's always 360 divided by period. Good. In this case, my period is 2w. And there you go. I get my b in terms of w. Right, so there you go. I substitute a, b, c, d, ignore c and d because those two are just zeros. So that's my full equation in terms of w. Okay, so in part b, you won't get the full answer in number because now you cannot use calculator to get the solution. You need to figure out by knowledge, understanding how the graph works. So there you go, that's the answer. Right, and talking about the domain and range, it's exactly the same. Look back, domain, the widest width. Okay, it's from 0 to w, and the range, it's from the lowest to highest, 0 to 9. Yep, so domain and range, it's pretty simple. Right, and the features. Yes, these points, W, 2W, WW, you cannot get these points using calculator. So what you need to do is you need to look, okay, read off from the graph, and tell me what those values are. Obviously 0, 0, W 0, 2W 0, and y-intercept as 0, 0. And tell me what type of symmetry it is, whether it's point symmetry, line symmetry. Sine is always point symmetry over here, and also point of inflection. Okay, so there you go. And talk about the transformation. In terms of W, you see that period is changing, okay? Period changes from 360 to 2W because we do not know whether that 2W will be greater than 360 or less than 360. So we put changes instead of increase, either increase or decrease. Okay? Right, so you might say it's a little bit difficult, okay, because you need to come up with the answer in terms of W, right? But it's pretty much the same, okay? But you just need to understand how the graph works. Okay, next one. It's going to be upside down parabola, okay? And that's going to be my turning point. And how do I find my A value? Okay, I know this point or I know this point to figure out and calculate it to get the value. Okay. Alright, so here's a sketch, right? Yes, I know this point. Yes, I know this point and this point so far. However, I do not yet know what the y-intercept is yet. But we can calculate it soon. And also you need to show this point back in the sketch, okay, after calculating the value. So let's have a look. Okay, so this is my original transformated parabola equation. Okay, the maximum turning point should be my B and C with the opposite sign B. So 1 over 2W should be, as you can see, negative 1 over 2W, and my C will be just positive 26. Okay, it's the same. It's exactly the same as we have done with the numbers. Okay, but just W is inside there. Alright, I'm going to pick any point on the curve, which I know for sure is either that one or that one. But I think positive number is easier to work with, so I chose this one. You can choose the other one. It does not matter. It should come out as the same answer. So therefore, I'm going to put this value into the equation. 3 over 2W should be x, and y should be 0. So there you go. Instead of y, I'm going to put 0. Instead of x, I'm going to put 3 over 2W. Right, so there you go. 3 over 2W minus a half a W. So just subtract 3 over 2 minus a half, okay, in the calculator, or if you can do by hand, okay, do that. Make sure you put this one in the bracket, enter, minus 0.5, enter. Okay, in that case, you'll get 1. Okay, so just 1 W, right? So, if I simplify this further, it's W squared A. Okay, and I'm going to send this one to the other side, which is going to be negative 26. Yeah, you following so far? And what I'm trying to find out is the value A. So it's W squared times A. So I need to send W squared to the other side by dividing it like this. Okay, so that's going to be my A value. And you need to make sure to check the value A is negative because your graph is upside down parabola. And there you go. You just substitute the A value in there. And everything, it will be in terms of W, and that's gonna be my your correct final answer. Okay, so it's the same with domain and range. Just look back at the previous one, the original equation. Okay, so you should easily find out these two values. Right, so this is very important for the features. X-intercept, those 2 points that we already could able to find that out, okay, by reading off the graph. Line symmetry about, okay. Line symmetry is where we have this line, right? Okay, so the left hand side, right hand side, it's symmetrical at this line. And also the turning point, we could easily find that out. However, it's the most important thing is the y-intercept here in this question. Right, in order to pass the y-intercept, my x has to be always, always 0, right? Okay, so from the equation that we calculated, okay, over there, we found out the equation. This is the equation, okay. I'm going to put x is equal to 0. So instead of x, I'm going to put 0. Okay. So if I look at what's inside the bracket, it's going to be negative a half W. Right. So I'm just going to write everything the same. Just negative W over 2 squared. Okay. So people, 1 over 2 W or W over 2 is exactly the same thing. Right, now what I'm going to do, I'm going to square whatever inside the bracket. So, negative is going to be positive. W squared, 2 squared, so it's going to be like this. So, left hand side, I just carry it down, times it by positive W squared at the top, 2, 2, 4. Okay, it's not 2 times 2, but 2 to the power of 2. Okay, it's a similar thing, but it's power instead of multiplication. Remember that? It's 4. So, okay, if you can just multiply the top one and the bottom one and simplify, which is going to be W squared will cancel out. 26 divided by 4 should be negative 6.5. Outside the bracket was 26. And my final answer for y-intercept should be 19.5. So I need to put it in coordinate 0, 19.5. And I should write that down in the feature. Okay, so in this part, in order to get excellence, you should be able to calculate, show evidence that you're calculating the A value. Okay, in order to get excellence, okay, you need to show all the evidence of calculating the y-intercept or x-intercepts, okay, according to what question you get. So these being able to work in terms of letters is very important in part B. Okay, lastly, my translation. Right, my A value, okay, it's in terms of W, and even though I had negative value in front of the A, remember, negative has been used here. that has been reflected through the x-axis. That's what the negative stands for. And stretch is just the A value itself in terms of W. Okay? There you go. So we tried part B of the building question. So I hope this video helped, and please have a re-go at doing some more questions if you got stuck on it. Okay, then otherwise I'll see you in the next lesson. Bye bye.